Hey, I said I was gonna do a Q&A, so I should probably get to answering those questions, shouldn't I? I'm sorry it's been so long since I put out the video asking. I think it's been a solid month, actually, since I asked for Q&A questions, and I haven't answered them yet. So much shit has gotten in the way. Lots of different things, but the big one for a while is that there's a lot of construction that's been going on lately nearby. Like, as an example, like, I shit you not, there was a jackhammer at one point. And that would have been a fun recording. Like, it's been bad. Like, it's definitely died down a lot as of now, but for a long time, shit was just going on that was so loud, and I wasn't able to record anything because it was, you know, it would get picked up, and the few chances I had to actually record were either chances I would record the Saturday Morning Ramblings with Lewis, or I got the Naruto movie review done or recorded. So now I finally have a chance to do the Q&A video along with nothing else getting in the way. So here we are. I'm gonna try and get through these questions quickly. I know how ridiculous that sounds, me being me, but I screen capped all the questions already, so I would know how many questions I have to go through. There are 78 screen caps, and most people ask more than one question. So even just doubling that, that's like 150 questions, meaning just to put that in scale for you and myself to know how quickly I should probably go through some of these. So if there's a short answer for certain questions, I'm probably going to give them. But there are some that I might elaborate on just because I want to, but I'm going to try and keep this trimmed down, but we'll see what happens. So the first questions, I should note that when I screen capped them, the way that, because the way I asked for stuff in the video was obviously the series review recommendation and Q&A questions, you're going to see some series recommendations for reviews in the screen caps. It's just how it's done. I'm just going to skim over those parts. I'm going straight for the questions in this. This isn't about what show I'm reviewing. I actually still need to count that. I'm going to do that after I record this. Right now we're just answering questions. So first one, and I don't know why you posted them as two separate comments, but the first one, will you kill yourself if Star Fox Zero ends up being shit? Well, because it's been so long since this question was asked, Star Fox Zero is already out, and I already played it. Luckily, it's not shit. It isn't good. Well, okay, let me put it this way. It's not a good Star Fox game, but it's actually an okay normal game. The biggest thing, like, the literal game, actually, honestly, even then, it's still a pretty good Star Fox game. It's just that the controls get in the way so much, because they tried to shoehorn all the gamepad shit in, and they couldn't let you... Like, if they had the option to do a more normal aiming scheme, I mean, there is, but not like a full normal aiming scheme like N64 style. That would have been nice, but I guess it also would have been really hard because there are certain boss battles where, like, it does a weird fucking camera angle and you have no aiming reticle, so it would have been hard as shit to shoot things. I don't know, they just shoehorned the fucking gamepad so much, but honestly, I don't hate the game. Like, it was actually pretty fun, at least the one route I played. I still need to play it again and play the other levels that I didn't get to do, but it's solid. Like, it's just you have to fight the control scheme most of the time. Honestly, when you figure out what the game wants you to do as far as, like, using the gamepad and shooting and aiming and shit like that, a lot of stuff that seems frustrating and bad game design actually becomes stupid easy. Like, the final boss fight, like, I struggled for a while. I was like, what the fuck? Like, the controls are just getting in the way and it's so stupid. And then I figured out what the game wanted me to do, like, the way it was designed, probably intended to be played. It was stupid easy. Like, a lot of the time it's just figuring out what the game wants you to do. But even then, the problem is, like, some of the things it wants you to do is stupid. Like, I guess somewhat of a spoiler, the ending boss fight against Andross, woo, big shocker there. You don't do it in an R-Wing. It wants you to do the vast majority of the fight in the fucking walker mode. And the walker mode's fucking stupid. So, I don't know. I said a bunch of things, but hopefully I answered more than just the question. So I guess the answer to the question is, yes, I would if it was shit, but luckily it wasn't shit. So there you go. But I guess I sort of reviewed Star Fox Zero in the process. And then your second question is, can we get your updated top 10 anime list? The thing is, I don't really keep a top 10 update anime list. Like, I don't. I feel like it's arbitrary a lot of the time. Like, I feel like my top shows of all time are just shows that I can think of off the top of my head. Like, when I think, what are my favorite shows of all time? What comes to my head is Shotgun Nashana series, obviously. Silver Spoon, both seasons. Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood. That's what immediately comes to mind, but there's other stuff like Bakano would probably be included. Death Note and Code Geass are great fun. Like, stuff that I can actually, when I think, what is, like, what would probably, if I ask myself, what would probably make my top 10 list, like, series that actually come to mind, there probably would be on the list. Like, I wouldn't be able to put them in any significant order. Like, maybe the order I remember them in says something, but maybe it doesn't. You know, like, I think of that. Oh, I almost forgot. Full seasons of Tokyo Ghoul 2. Because then there's that. Like, I would definitely have both seasons of Tokyo Ghoul on my top 10 anime list, but, I also have a shit memory. So, I guess my method of deciding isn't always that great. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really keep a top 10 list. Like, that's just how I would go with. So I guess that's just kind of like a preview of it. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Hopefully I answered the question. Next one. Q&A questions. Have you heard of KHF McAwesome? No. Wow, that was an easy question. 2. What do you think of the fact that Rewrite is getting an anime adaptation coming out this July? I'm confused about the Rewrite adaptation, because I saw an article, apparently it's, like, adapting, like, apparently it's having, like, this original 6th route being done for the anime, and I don't know if the anime is just the 6th route, or if it's doing all the routes from the game, and then, in addition, a 6th route. So, I don't entirely understand, but if it's all the routes, I would like to watch it, because, it's primarily not actually written by Jun Maeda, who I feel like is probably my problem with a lot of Key's works, and Rewrite would be a good test to see, not a foolproof test, but a good test to see if that's actually the case, since, you know, he didn't really write much. If anything, I don't know if he had a hand in writing any of it. I know a bunch of different writers wrote the routes, including Ryukishi writing one of the routes, which is super interesting. Ryukishi's the guy who wrote Higurashi and Umineko. So that's always been a reason I've wanted to actually, I still plan to play Rewrite at some point, because I might just do Ryukishi's character's route, but that's really the main reason I picked it up, because I wanted to see what kind of weird shit he would write. I imagine it won't be completely Higurashi Umineko style, but there are little tidbits of his writing that I like. So it'd be interesting to see how he wrote this kind of story. But yeah, if it's just the original 6th route they're talking about, I can't really watch it because I would need to play the game first. Next question. Is Dawn still your favorite Pokemon girl? Yep. Next question. What do you think of the other Pokemon girls after Dawn, like Iris and Serena? They're fine. I know everyone hates Iris, but I don't mind her. She's alright. And Serena, I feel like I'd like her more if they weren't pulling the childhood friend card after like 7 fucking seasons of the show. You know, it's like, isn't it a bit late to be pulling the childhood friend card? Like, it seems weird. It feels like maybe you would usually do that first, and then if not first, you would do it second, but like 7th? What? It's so weird. Like, I don't know why they're doing it so late. I don't know. It's weird. But I'd probably like her more if they... Honestly, she doesn't even need to be a childhood friend character. I'd prefer if she wasn't. Like, I'd probably like her more. But yeah. Next question. I'm trying to get to these quicker, especially after the first 2 taking a while. What video games do you play like... Oh, God. That's a fucking broad question. Quite a few things. Right now, I'm in a Final Fantasy XIV addiction. I've been leveling a lot of shit. Like, I've already played all the current content on my main character on the Brynhildr server, which is in the Primal Fragment? I don't know what they're called. There are like fragments, and then there are worlds in the fragments. So, like there's databases, and then there's servers in the databases. So I'm on the Primal database on the Brynhildr server for my main character. But I also made an alt character to play with some friends on a European server. Which one's that called? I think the data center is called Chaos, and these worlds and the actual servers called Zodiark. So I also have a character on there. But yeah, I finished all the main stuff on my main character, and I've been leveling alt classes, which has been actually pretty fun. And then I've been leveling my alt character on the European server. So that's what I've mainly been playing. Yeah. Like, I feel like you're asking what games do I play nowadays. I still need to play another route in Star Fox Zero, I mentioned that. Games I'm looking forward to, the next releases, I would say, in 2 months, Zero Time Dilemma comes out, the third game in the Zero Escape series, which is fantastic, and everyone should play them. In order, 999, followed by Virtue's Last Reward, and then Zero Time Dilemma when that comes out on June 28th. And then on the same day, Star Ocean 5 comes out, which I'm also really excited for. I know it's been getting mediocre reception in Japan when it came out, but Star Ocean 4 also got mediocre reception, and I really liked that game. So, hey, the reception doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. But yeah. 2 is, how old are you? I don't care to answer. I mean, some people already know that have, like, I don't know. Some people know, but it's not important. Like, I've never considered age something that matters. Like, how do I word this? Like, a lot of people, I'm not saying it's the case with everybody, obviously, but a lot of times people will use, like, age as an example of why you shouldn't be listened to, I suppose. Like, if I put out a review and a 12-year-old came and commented on my video, but they gave, like, you know, solid arguments, you know, for, like, why they disagreed with me, like, I'm not gonna say they're wrong because they're 12, you know? Like, age has such arbitrary stigma attached to it a lot of the time, and that's because in general, usually it's the case, but it's not always the case. I don't know. I feel like I'm going on a weird tangent. I think I just rather not say. Like, this is the few people that know, they know, but it's not something that I, like, care to just, like, say all the time. Like, I don't know. Take a guess. I'd be far more interested in knowing what people think my age is rather than what it actually is. Do you think I'm 12? Do you think I'm actually 58 and I'm using a voice changer? Who knows? Let me know. And then you asked like a billion other questions, but I limited you to 2, so I don't have to answer them. Next question. Do you have a Pokken tournament? Nope. If so, what do you think of it? I don't, so I don't think of it. And because that was quick to answer, I guess I'll do your next one. What do you think of Dragon Ball Super? I have not watched it. I actually want to watch Dragon Ball Super, but I'm waiting for it to be dubbed, which it may actually be at this point. It wasn't for a while, but I grew up with the English dub of Dragon Ball, so it's hard to watch without that. Not that I think that the Japanese performances are bad. I'd say they're actually, you know, from what I've seen, they're good. Like, I know everyone likes to shit on Goku's voice actress, but she's legendary for a reason. Like the literal voice she uses is weird if you're in, you know, if you're in the West, like, when you first hear it, you're like, that's fucking weird, man. But, like, performance-wise, she's good, you know, she's got it. It's just, I don't know. I'm so used to the normal, well, I say normal, I'm so used to the English voice actors that it's just, I don't know, it's hard for me to watch it without them. I don't know. Next question. How much money do you use to buy anime stuff, and what do you buy? Too much. I mainly buy, I buy series, like I buy disc releases of shows that I really like. Generally what I do is, when I watch a show, I decide if, as I'm watching it, I decide, well, at its worst, I drop it. At second worst, I finish it and say it wasn't that great. Or I watch a show and say it was okay. I watch a show and say it was pretty good. And then there's shows that I watch and say they're really good. And generally at that point is the kind of show that I would buy. And then after that is obviously like favorite shows, which is the stuff I'm willing to fork out like extra money for. Like I got the collector's edition for Tokyo Ghoul Season 1 sitting behind me. It's a pretty cool box. Largely useless, but it looks cool. So I buy a lot of disc releases, and then otherwise I largely spend my money on art. Like when I go to FanimeCon, and any other anime convention, if I ever go to it, is largely going to be spent on artist alley stuff. Fan art is great. I'm super picky about what type of art I like, but when I find art I like I almost buy it all the time, so I blow so much money on art, it's absurd. Yeah, I kind of wish I would stop, honestly, because it can put such a serious dent in my wallet. All right, next question. Q-Day, what made you decide to make YouTube videos? Well, for quite a while, I was actually writing blog posts. I was reviewing anime that way, talking about it and reviewing it that way. And I blogged for a good, how long was it? 2-3 years? And after a while, I just thought, well, I'd like to reach more of an audience, but I don't know what to do. So, eventually I just decided, well, I watch YouTube videos a lot. Maybe I should just read my reviews and put them on YouTube. So I did. And that's really how it started. A lot less interesting than you'd think. I mean, to this day, I still publish YouTube videos and have the blog versions of this, because that's how I write my scripts. I write my scripts in my drafts on my blog, and then I get all of that done, and when I put out the video, I schedule the post on my blog to go up at about the same time. So I still do the blog. Like, I don't know, it's just been with me for so long. Like, I don't know, that's just how it started. And that was your only question. So moving on to the next question. Have you ever considered doing a podcast with subs either on Skype or Google Hangouts? Funny that you asked that question. Well, I guess it's funny that you asked this question and I'm answering it a month later, given what I started doing. So I suppose that question's already sort of been answered in a way. You would help you interact with fans and give content. Why, yeah, it would. I'm not sure I'd call Lewis a fan anymore. He gets mad when I call him a fan. Well, actually, no. He got mad when I called him a groupie. But we're friends. So I think it's easier to do a podcast kind of thing with friends rather than fans. Like, the dynamic's easier. Although, to be fair, the first couple podcasts Lewis and I have been doing have been slightly low-key. Mainly because by the time we can record, Lewis in his time zone is tired as fuck. And then I've probably only recently woken up, so we don't have the most amount of energy when we're recording. So getting that fixed, and hopefully the next one's gonna be a lot more, I almost said high octane, but that wouldn't be accurate. Will be a bit more energetic. That's not even necessarily the right word. I don't know. Hopefully the next one's better. I'll just put it that way. Moving on. We have the next question. What are your thoughts on Erased? I kind of already answered that in the episode 0 podcast I did with Lewis. So if you want to know my thoughts on Erased, you can go to that. I don't think I have timestamps on the first part, which is where I talked about it. It's the first show we talked about after we did little intro stuff. The first thing we talked about was Erased and our thoughts on it. So if you want to hear my thoughts on Erased along with someone else's, then as we discuss it, then you can watch that. Although you may have already watched it because I'm answering this question so late. What's the strength of the show? Again, it's part of the question, so I already answered that. And then you asked other stuff, which also has to do with what I thought about Erased. Again, yeah. So I guess that was kind of a freebie question, so moving on. What are the shows you like but most people dislike, or shows you dislike but most people love? I suppose it's already sort of answered with Clannad and After Story, which I don't really care for, but a lot of people really, really love. I don't know about the other way around. I really like Silver Spoon, but it's not that people dislike Silver Spoon, it's just that no one really watches it, which is a shame. I wish that changed someday. Even if it turns out that everyone watches it doesn't like it at all. I don't know. I want Silver Spoon to have more attention at least, you know? I want people to at least, I'd rather the discussion, well, I guess I wouldn't really like the discussion to be negative, but at least it'd be having discussion, and it would be getting more attention, and the couple people that would like it would watch it then. Although, honestly, I do think a lot of people would like Silver Spoon if they give it a chance. Like, a lot of people liked Rokugo, and that was, you know, I guess that had a little bit more interesting directing going on. But that was largely a character story, and quite a few people actually liked it a lot. Silver Spoon's the same. It's a character story, and it's even got a similar, well, it's not really a similar setting because the time period is more modern. They're just in, you know, farming school, but I guess it's just because the directing is a lot more straightforward. Like, there's no fancy shit in Silver Spoon directing-wise, really. It largely just gets the story done. But I think that really fits in a grounded character story. You don't really want to go crazy with the directing. Like, it can benefit from being straightforward. But, I don't know, that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of shows I like. Oh, well, Tokyo Ghoul. I don't know why I keep forgetting about Tokyo Ghoul. It's probably because I've, like, unconsciously told myself not to talk about Tokyo Ghoul, because it always just brings drama. Like, you cannot talk about Tokyo Ghoul without starting shit, man. It's, like, I don't know. It's unfortunate. But yeah, I think I answered your question, so, moving on. We have... if you could choose 3 series to combine into an OVA series like Carnival Phantasm, with all 3 series being from the same studio, which 3 would you choose? Oh, God. I don't know. Mainly because a lot of the shows I like work because they're their own thing. I guess the way it works with Carnival Phantasm, though, is that it takes a bunch of different series written by the same author and then kind of, like, has it go a little loopy. So, I guess that's how it works, is it's largely comedic. So... honestly, I don't even know if I can answer the question. Like, literally nothing comes to mind. It's a creative question, I'll give you that. But it's so creative that I have fucking no idea what the answer for me would be. It's something I've never thought about, and I can't even wrap my head around right now. Like, what I would like to see. Like, it's something I'd have to think about. You know, not something I can answer on the fly. I don't know. There are a lot of series I like that are quite different setting-wise as far as, like, levels of realism and stuff, and so combining all of them would be, like, fucking weird. I guess if it's just in a comedic sense where weird shit happens, almost anything would work, though, because then you just take all these characters, put them in a weird, grounded setting, but then just have lots of funny shit happen. I honestly, I can't give an answer, I'm sorry. Like, I would need more time to think about it. I give you kudos on the creative question, though. Moving on, we have, question, next 24-hour stream when? I don't know, maybe never, because it's really hard for me to stay up for 24 hours nowadays. Like, I'm past that point. It's very difficult. If I ever did, I would have to celebrate something. I don't know, maybe at 100,000 subscribers I'll do one. But it was very draining when I did one that one time, and doing one again would be not in the immediate future, let's put it that way. Second question, send nudes, domo arigato. I got you, babe. Send it to your Snapchat. Moving on, we have, will you still be reviewing the big animes out there? I don't know what you mean by that. You mean the popular stuff that airs? I mean, sure. I don't really review things simply because they're popular or not. I review things that I think I have something interesting to add to a discussion, or to either start a discussion or add to a already ongoing discussion. Those are the series that I review, because otherwise it's just kind of boring. Like, I'm just talking about a show, and it's like, I liked this show because it did things good, and then, or I didn't like this show because it was bad. Like, that's what it would amount to if I didn't have something interesting to say. And generally what I mean by interesting to say is something I can talk about anime in general. Like, it's not even a review, but the first thing that comes to mind is the problems of Mahoka video I did. Like, that wasn't just so much like saying Mahoka's a bad show, it was pointing out, like, the absurdity of having such an overpowered character, you know, solve all these problems, like, how it causes there to be literally no tension, and therefore no excitement, and therefore you fall asleep in your chair. Like, there's no tension when the main character can do fucking anything, and he can get sniped, and he shrugs it off. I'm pretty sure he legit got sniped in the heart, too, and he shrugged it off, and then just healed it immediately. And then he nuked a boat! So, it's only amusing in its absurdity, and how far it goes, I guess, but otherwise, like, there's just no tension. Like, there's a fucking, like, 9-episode tournament arc, and it's like, gee, I wonder who's gonna fucking win. You know? Like... And there's no exciting because they're not, like, struggling at all. And this is turning into a Mahoka review again, but it's like, they're not struggling to win, so it's just kind of like, well, it's not exciting, you know? Like, so that was talking about, like, you know, keeping people's attention in general when it comes to anime. Like, it wasn't necessarily just about Mahoka. It was about, you know, what I just said, like tension in writing and shows and keeping attention. So that's what the kind of thing I think I look for when I'm going to review something, is if I have something interesting to say about it, and kind of like writing an anime in general, or directing an anime in general, or anything, you know, I can like, I can increase to talk about that can be more about just that show. Like, as much as I bash Planet in those reviews, it's also about how manipulation, how emotional manipulation is done in shows, and how it's normal for shows to be manipulative, because that's how you know what emotion to feel at any point in time. But at the same time, there is a line to be crossed, in how it can, like, completely derail you from actually feeling anything you're supposed to be feeling. Like, that sort of thing. Like, that's what I look for when I review things. So, I guess I'll review a big show if I have something interesting to say. I guess that was a long-winded saying of, yeah, I review popular shows, but only if I have something interesting to say. Secondly, review old anime. Same criteria. It has to be interesting to say. Like, really, really old. I am talking... Well, this is getting into your recommendation for shows, but you're talking about Blue Gender, Fist of the North Star, and it's... Again, like I said, if I have something interesting to say, I will. The only other criteria is like what I did with this Q&A, where I asked people to give me a series to review. Like, it could turn out to be a disaster, because it might be a show I don't have anything interesting to say about, but otherwise, I just look for shows that I think what I have to say is bring something to the table as far as discussions. Next question. What's your favorite genre in anime? I don't know. Like, on the one hand, I just want to say I don't really have a favorite genre, because a good show is a good show, regardless of genre. But on the other hand, it's like, at times I do feel like I have a favorite genre, but it's just like, it changes all the time based on whatever. Like, again, like, I get favorite genres because I don't have a favorite genre in a way. Like, when Nozaki-kun came out, it was like, well, comedies are my favorite genre now, you know? Like, a show comes out that's really, really good in its genre, and it's like, well, this is my favorite genre now, you know? Like, it's not the genres that decide the good shows, it's the shows that decide the good genres in a way. So, I hope that didn't sound weirdly existential, because I wasn't really going for that, but that's what I think. So I don't really have a favorite genre, is what I'm really trying to say. So, yeah. Next question. What shows do you think are underwatched? I just mentioned it in answer to another question. Silver Spoon. I want more people to watch Silver Spoon. Watch Silver Spoon. Do it. It's good. It's a great character story. One of the best. Do it. It's so good, and the second season's even better. Do it. Moving on. The next question. Will you do a face reveal or something of the sort? Probably not. I mentioned it, I think it was in the last Q&A, which was quite a while ago, to be fair. I don't think it's important. Like, the entire point of my reviews, as I mentioned, is to bring things to the table discussion-wise, and what I look like and my appearance and stuff really doesn't matter. So, I don't think it's a big enough deal. Like, I'd rather see discussions online about my content rather than... Oh my god, have you seen how fat Riyogaa is? He's like 600 pounds. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's just unimportant. I don't see the big deal. You know? Like, we're here to talk about foreign cartoons. You know? It's what I look like doesn't matter as far as what I have to say about that. So yeah. And then your other question, are you planning on doing collaborations with other people in the future? Not particularly. Like, honestly, like, the idea of working with other people, I'm not opposed to. It's just that my availability hours are often very shit. So, like, finding an opportunity to collaborate with someone on doing something would be very hard. The only time it would ever work is if someone just said, oh, I want you to be in this thing, could you record this for me? Because if I can just record something on my own time without having to, have other people be available, then that significantly opens up my time to do something like that. So, if someone wanted me to like record something for them, that'd be fine. But as far as collaborations where like we both need to be on at the same time and do something together, like it'd be really hard to line up time wise. And then honestly, like the bits of time that I actually have to work on things and do stuff myself, I'd rather spend on my stuff. It's like I said, I'm not opposed to working with other people. It's just I don't feel like I really have the time. Like I'd rather focus on my own stuff, and then even if I wanted to like actively work on someone with something, like I said, my availability times are just not that great. So I guess my answer that I keep saying and working in circles around regardless is that I'm not opposed to it. It's just it's unlikely to happen, I suppose. So next question. This isn't a question. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the reference. Good job. Actual question. What do you think of the Noblesse OVA? Would you like to see more Korean webcomics become anime? I have no fucking clue what the Noblesse OVA even is. Like, did I watch it? If I watched the Noblesse OVA, and then I have no idea that I actually did, and I don't remember it. So let me put it that way. Otherwise, I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't watch anything called a Noblesse OVA. Maybe at some point I was like, maybe it was on a chart at some point. I was like, I'd be interested in watching this, and then I didn't actually watch it because it was like hard to find or something. I don't know. Second question: what's your favorite shonen battle manga anime? That's I don't know. It's hard to say what qualifies for shonen anymore. Like, at the time when it came out, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was a shonen. So, can I cheat and say JoJo's? Like, nowadays I think it's classified as seinen, but when it was coming out it was shonen, so I'm just gonna cheat and say JoJo's. Ayy. Next question. I've always thought it'd be cool if Toradora got like a 3-episode OVA to flesh out the ending, or maybe a movie. Would be your opinion on that? I get the idea of people wanting more of stuff that they like. It's just common sense in a way, but I feel like Toradora kind of told its story already. Like, there's not really anything else to do. Like, the whole point was Ryuji and Taiga coming to terms with what it means to actually love someone. And that story's been told. Like, there's no real point in showing their married life or something like that outside of, like, kind of fan service, because the story, you know, like I said, them discovering what it means to love someone it's already been told. Like, it's done. There's nothing else to really do. I guess there are some people, though, that actually don't like the ending of Toradora. Well, it's not they don't like it, they feel it's unfinished. So I guess maybe in that regard, some people would like that, but I think Toradora finished its story just fine. So I don't think there's anything to flesh out, really. So, yeah, that's... I would say Toradora's fine as it is. Next question. Which show out of the three is worst? Air, Kennen 2006, or Clannad? Personally, I think Air is the worst. Well, then it's a good thing I haven't actually watched Air. Let me put it this way. At least I finished Clannad and Clannad After Story. I couldn't finish Kennen 2006. So, as of the shows I've watched, I would say Kennen 2006 is the worst. Maybe it got better from where I stopped watching, but as of what I watched, nope. That would be, Kennen 2006. What's something that annoys you about the anime community? Oh god, I don't want to start drama. I hate how black and white the critics are. Something is either the greatest anime ever or the absolute worst, and there's rarely anything in between. Yeah, I can kind of see that. There are definitely shows where people are willing to say that it's middle of the road. Like, that's something like a lot of the really, like, more analytical and harsher critics, like, tend to give Garkata shit for, quote-unquote not being a great reviewer. He's not as analytical as I'd like, but it's not really the point, because he's largely reviewing stuff for an audience that has not seen the show, so it makes sense that he's not analytical. Though his new chunk that he's doing, which shows where he does a spoiler room after the fact, is actually kind of incredibly smart. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how he fleshes that out, and how he makes use of that. Like, that could actually make his reviews a lot more. It's a cool idea. I got a little off topic there. But as much as people give Garhata shit, I can appreciate that a lot of the time he's willing to say a show is just okay when it's just okay. Like, he actually very rarely gives out, you know, as he calls it, his fuck it medals or ratings. I mean, I call it a medal because it's a circle. He actually pretty rarely gives them out. He gives out quite a few very goods, I guess, also, but, like, if you check out how many things he's reviewed, like, he's actually given quite a few middle-of-the-road verdicts, which is neat, because, like you said, like, a lot of the harsher critics do actually tend to think that something is either the worst thing ever or the best thing ever, and I think a reason for that mindset is, I'm going totally off topic, but I think this is something people might actually be interested in hearing my opinion on, is, the way a lot of critics work, at least in my mind, is, okay, like personally, I've been accused in my Clan Ed videos primarily of going into a show wanting to hate it, which is incredibly stupid, and is mainly just a thought process for people to defend their own fucking shit because they're so fragile-minded that the only way to process someone not dare liking the thing that they like is because they're just being a meanie pants and trying not to like something that they like. That mindset's obviously stupid, but at times there's a mindset that can go with the reviewing community that is actually kind of similar, and it's not going into a show trying to hate it, although I'm reluctantly saying this, but there are times where that happens, but typically it's very obvious when that's the case. Like, I always laugh because whenever people said that I went into Clan Ed trying to hate it, it's like, I always used to respond, you clearly have not seen a review of someone who actually went into a show trying to hate it. Like, usually, when you find a review of someone going into a show trying to hate it, like, it's really obvious. So it's like, it's not even something that you should throw around, like, all the time. Like, when someone goes into a show trying to hate it, like, it shows very easily. So, like, it actually doesn't happen that much. What happens more often, that I keep trying to get to, but I keep derailing myself, is that what people will do is they'll go into a show with somewhat neutral expectations, but then as the first episode progresses, they'll decide based on the stuff that happens whether they like the show or not, and then that can influence their opinion throughout the rest of the show. Like, if they watch the first episode and they see things they don't like, it's more likely that they're going to keep seeing things that they don't like, and they're going to be less likely to notice the positives unless they really, really stand out. And if people go into a show liking it, it's going to be less likely for them to notice the negatives, and more likely for them to notice things that they like. So it's like a self-feeding kind of mindset where you sort of make a decision based on the first episode, whether you like something or not, and then you just sort of keep feeding that opinion. And I don't want to make this, like, you know, like, accusatory. Like, a lot of the time it's done unconsciously. Like, people aren't actually, like, you know, aware that they're doing this. But, and I'm not saying this is a fact either. Like, this is just an opinion based on what I've seen checking out a lot of reviews, is that seems to be how it tends to go a lot of the time. There are exceptions, like, where people actually, like, not really like something and then they say, oh, it got really good later, or they'll really like something and say it went to shit. You know, like, there are outliers, but generally, like, middle of the road shows tend to be people either like them or they don't. Like, there's no middle ground. Kind of like you said. I didn't even really answer your question, because you asked me what annoyed me about the anime community, and that's not even necessarily something that annoys me. I was just adding to your discussion about, or your idea that the critics can be too black and white, which I agree with. It's something I've been trying to do over the time, is try to be more fair. Like how I started my After Story review with 7 or 8 minutes of me counting all the positives I liked about the show. So I definitely am trying to be more, not necessarily open-minded, but trying to make sure I'm more complete in my coverage on the things I like and dislike about a show. Like, shows are very, 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 very rarely completely one way or the other. So it's better to just cover both. I think the problem is that it's not as... Sometimes what it can be is that people just like something or they don't like something, and they want people to share their opinion. So when they're writing their review and they like a show, they're going to be less likely to include the negatives because they want people to also like the show. And then if they don't like something, they're going to be less likely to include positives because they want to get across the point that they didn't like the show. Like, they're more interested in... How do I put this? They're more interested in conveying their positive and negative opinion, I guess, rather than, like, a discussion of everything the show does positive and negative. Sort of like that. But again, that's just my opinion. Like, I'm not saying, like, that's the case for everybody or anything like that. Like, it's just how it can be sometimes, I guess. I don't know. I still feel like I haven't really answered your question. I've just kind of, like, used your complaint as a bit of a springboard to talk about things. I don't know. Nothing really comes to mind, so I guess that's why I just used your thought as a springboard. So hopefully that works for you. I guess I could say I sort of agree with you, so I'm just gonna say what you said. Yeah. Sorry. Hopefully that was good enough for you. Next question. Can you keep up with your schedule? No. Damn, that was an easy question. Nice question. Did you get my memo about our wedding date? No. You haven't responded, so I'm just wondering, on the note, how come you're not returning my calls? Lewis, I hope you know, my restraining order is almost done filing, man. So, I hope you're ready when that goes through. Next question. What would you do for a Klondike bar? Nothing. Klondike bars aren't that great. Like, they're good, but they're not like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. You know? I'd rather have normal ice cream, in all honesty. Next question. What's your favorite anime so far this year? And you asked this in 2016. Okay. Shit. That's actually a hard question. Only one season's really aired this so far, except shows that were 26 episodes that finished up last season, which I can't remember because my memory's garbage. You actually voted for it in your series review, but I think maybe it was actually Snow White with the Red Hair, because that was probably one of my favorite shows that aired winter 2015-2016 season, and stuff this season hasn't really finished, so I can't really say whether I like any of it or not. I would rather wait for the show to finish to say anything, so really you're just asking what I liked last season, other than stuff that was, like I said, 26 episodes that finished up, but I can't remember any of that because memory's garbage. So I would actually probably say, well, Konosuba was pretty funny. Konosuba was pretty good. But on a more serious angle, I think Snow White with the Red Hair was actually pretty solid. I wasn't entirely sure about the second season a couple of episodes in, but by the end I was pretty happy with it. It's a shame that there's probably not going to be any more anytime soon. Feels bad. Next question. What are the most common storytelling sins you see in anime? For example, unnecessary exposition, heavy and emotional exploitation, etc. And which popular anime do you consider the worst offenders? I don't know. Like, something I say a lot when you want to start thinking more critically about shows is a bit of a mantra that's good to have is there is always an exception. So you can look at something and say this is universally bad, but a show down the line will probably prove you wrong. It'll actually do that thing and show it, like, do it well. So it's super hard to look at something and call it black and white bad, because a lot of things that stories can do and such, like, can be done both well and not well, you know? So it's hard to say there's any, like, hardcore, you know, bad thing or something. This is hard to word. I don't know. I guess it's just because you called them storytelling sins. And whenever I see sins, it makes me cringe a little because I think of cinema sins, which I don't like. To be fair, a lot of people don't like CinemaSins nowadays. It's, I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of hard to say. Like, obviously, the one thing that comes to mind when it's stuff that I don't really care for is just like you mentioned, the heavy-handed emotional exploitation, which is Clannad being an example of how to do it not well. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of shows that do heavy-handed emotional exploitation that I like, and I probably just can't even think of right now. I would just say Clannad is an example of something that doesn't do it right. So, there's nothing really I can say that's black and white bad, so it's hard for me to answer that question. I don't know. Hopefully that works for you as an answer.